Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Monday Night Travel with Rick Steves Europe. My name is Julianne Worden, and I will be your moderator this evening as we travel along with Rick. We hope that you have your appetites with you tonight as we are exploring food tours across Europe. And now, without further ado, I'll turn things over to Rick Steves, who will be our tour guide this evening. Hi, Rick.
Julianne, thank you so much. And it's great to be with everybody tonight for Monday Night Travel. And as Julianne mentioned, we are about to eat our way through Europe in so many ways. And I'm very excited about tonight's show. And while we're going to be traveling all over Europe, I'm going to be eating and drinking Greek here. And I'm just going to start off with my ouzo, because when you go to Greece, ouzo is kind of a cultural thing. And ouzo is it's a fire water, kind of like raki or pastis. You have pastis in France, you have raki in Turkey, ouzo in Greece, and you sip it. You don't take shots of it or anything like that. And it's got that licorice flavor, that wonderful licorice flavor. It's made of anise, and that is an herb that is found all over the Eastern Mediterranean. So Eastern Mediterranean cultures would have it. And then you cut it with water. And the challenge is, oh, there you go. You see, it makes this wonderful cloudiness. And anybody who's traveled in Greece, that cloudiness is sort of like it stokes your appetite. But you cut it to whatever flavor or strength that you like. And then you say yamas, yamas. And this is, it opens up the appetite. It blends well with many different flavors. It's a great thing to start your evening with. And then you go to a meze restaurant. And, you know, in Spain, we know tapas. And in Greece, we know meze. And this is what I've prepared for the evening right here. And when I look at this, this takes me right to Greece. I'd love to show it to you a little better, but I don't want all of these dishes to fall on my keyboard. But you got all these little dishes, and they come with twice as many dishes like this to your table. And you just point to whatever looks good. And meze is very sociable. I mean, you're all munching and sharing, and you always get a plate of pita bread. And you just take this and you dip into whatever looks good. And I'm going to introduce you to my little dishes later on. But right now, I just wanted to explain that we're going to be eating Greek style as we go to food tours all over Europe, from Lisbon to Athens, all the way to Iceland tonight. And we're going to be traveling together. So thank you so much for joining us. What I'd like to do right now is do what I do very often with Monday Night Travel, is take you to our website. And at our website, I'm gonna construct today's show. Now, this is ricksteves.com, and it's just a wonderland of free information. All the TV shows we've ever made, free, just click, click, click. All of our radio shows, you can sign up for future Monday Night Travels. You can look at 20 different Monday Night Travels we've done in the past, information about our tour program and our guides marketplace and so on. But I'm going down here to the lower left-hand corner to the Classroom Europe section. This is a program we've made as a thank you to teachers. I'm just so thankful for the hard work that teachers do, and especially during COVID, homeschooling parents and teachers. We've taken 150 of our TV shows, cut them into 500 teachable clips, and it's fast, it's free, there's no ads. And let me show you right now. Our theme is going to be, we pick themes here on the left. We're going to hit food, and there's 56 clips that are food, and that's way too much for the time we have tonight. So I'm going to type in here tour, and suddenly now there's 36 clips that are tour related in the food section. And we'll go through here and click and put together a playlist. Like Porto, what a wonderful city. We'll click there for a Porto tour in northern Portugal, and Lisbon would pout if they didn't get included. So we'll do the Lisbon food tour also. And oh God, there's so much delicious, many slices of Europe we've got here. You know, we're going to go to Scotland. We got to go to Scotland. And in Scotland, it's a whiskey tour. That's what it is. So we'll do a whiskey tour up in the Spey River area. Looking further along, I want to do one clip that just kind of introduces you to eating in Europe. So we'll get the sort of the ground rules for all of this food fun. And Madrid loves its ham. Let's go there for sure. And what else might we find? What do we have here? Now we've got 5 videos. That's 22 minutes. We got a room for a couple more videos. I wanted to do some tapas for sure. So I type in tapa, and there we have a 3-minute clip on tapas dinner in Madrid. So we'll go there. And now we have 6 clips for 5 minutes. I'm getting excited about this. And let's do Venice, because we got to get the Cecchetti, the Venetian pub crawl. So now we have 7 videos 26 minutes and 49 seconds for this evening's entertainment. And here, this is the playlist. And again, this is for teachers and people planning their trips is fine. You can design your playlist. We just clicked 7 clips. I want to, for instance, start with, I'm going to put the eating in Europe up to the top because we really need to have a context before we get into all the tours. And now we're ready to save this playlist. So we're going to give it a name and we're going to cleverly call it Monday Night Travel Food Tours. And then we shall just save this playlist. So now that's in our private playlist, Monday Night Tour. That's my own personal private stash. Any of you could have your stash there as well. So we are now ready to enjoy our food tour extravaganza all around Europe. And we're going to start out with just a general look at eating in Europe. And when we look at these little examples of fine eating around Europe, I want to remind you, none of it's top end. It's all casual. It's all hole in the wall, little creative ventures. And this is a chance for us to remember that the more we know about our cuisine options, the more fun we're going to have in our travels. So here we go. Thanks to Monday Night Travel. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's go.
One of the great joys of travel is eating. Each country in Europe has its own distinct cuisine. Leave the tourist zones. Find places filled with locals enjoying seasonal and regional specialties. The variety of food is endless, and if you know how to choose a good place, you don't need to spend a fortune. A few basic rules for eating your way through Europe. Go for the local specialties. You'll get better quality and price. Eat seasonally. Don't miss truffles on your pasta in the fall or fresh berries in Norway in summer. The location can make the meal. Bosnia may not be famous for its food, but dining under the bridge in Mostar makes a lifelong memory. Most of all, eat fearlessly. Try things you've never had in places you've never been. There are eateries to fit every budget. And while I recommend an occasional gourmet splurge, especially in countries famous for their high-end cuisine like France and Italy, you'll save money and improve your experience with Europe's countless budget options. Some of the most affordable and enjoyable food in Europe can be found not while seated at a table, but while standing in the street or the market. Every country has its own beloved street food. It's fast, cheap, and delicious. In Greece, try the corner souvlaki stand. And in Istanbul on the Golden Horn, grab a fish sandwich fresh from the guys who caught it at one of the venerable and very tipsy fish boats. For a step up and a seat, there are lots of casual bars and bistros, hometown hangouts where you can enjoy local cuisine in comfort without going broke. One of the best examples of this is in Spain. Every town tempts you with tapas bars, where you belly up to the bar and just point at things you'd like to try. In Denmark, I love the open-faced sandwiches, which manage to be both simple and elegant at the same time. You can munch the best pizza ever for the price of a fast food hamburger in Naples, where pizza was invented. The rustic simplicity of sausages and fondue feels just perfect high in the Swiss Alps. And these days, pubs are more than just friends gathering for a beer. They can come with tasty meals, too. By the way, interiors in Europe, from restaurants to hotels to pubs, are now essentially smoke-free.
So I was just thinking, all of these great places we've just seen, they're all little places, little mom and pops. These are the kind of places I'm hoping and praying are going to still be standing after COVID. Most of them will, I think, but it's been a very tough couple of seasons now for them with this pandemic. But nothing here is high end. It's all very accessible. You just got to know the local skills. This is the joy in my guidebook research work, is to find these fun little ad lib street food places, characteristic mom and pops, and connect people so they can sample their way through Europe on a budget, but with first-class cultural experiences.
Pas du jour here. A handwritten menu in the local language only with a small selection indicates a good value. And the house salad makes a quick and healthy meal. In France, bread is free. S'il vous plaît? Just hold up your basket to ask. In France, a free carafe of tap water is either on the table or will be quickly if you ask. When it comes to drinking, I go local. In Bavaria, it's a liter of lager. Tuscany, a robust red wine.
I'm working.
Provence, a nice rosé. Ireland, a hearty Guinness. Spain, a rich Rioja. In Denmark, a fiery akavit.
Yes. Yeah.
And in Greece, it's ouzo with a sunset. Adapt to the culture you're visiting. Over here, dining's not rushed. Slow service is often good service. In a nice restaurant, the table's yours for the entire evening. To get the bill, you need to ask for it. As service is often included and waiters are generally paid a living wage, tipping is less expected and often unnecessary. This varies from country to country. Get advice from locals. Picnics are fast and fun and give you a purpose in Europe's colorful markets and shops. When picnicking, you can buy whatever looks good regardless of price. Choose an atmospheric place to make your picnic memorable. We've put together a cheap and healthy meal for two. Delightful cheese, tiny quiche, strawberries, grapes, wine, a little something for dessert, and a reasonable view.
That is cool.
For a break from sightseeing and a fun meal, explore the back lanes and pop into a bar serving cicchetti. That's the uniquely Venetian hors d'oeuvres. This is a great way to try a variety of dishes. With a good regional wine in a rustic setting, you can eat cheaply and make new friends or enjoy old ones.
So this man here is Alessandro, and we're going to team up with him now on a food tour. And he's a tour guide that just accidentally fell into this career of his. And now every night he meets tourists. They go to the top of the Rialto Bridge. And from there, they just wander around and visit 4 or 5 different Chiqueto bars. And let me just read to you from my book, the Rick Steves Venice book, because this is the kind of information you need. On page 26, right off the top, Alessandro's classic Venice bars backstreet tours. Alessandro Cesini is a connoisseur of Venetian Bacardi. Those are classic old bars serving wine and traditional cicchetti snacks. He organizes 2-hour Venetian bar tours, 35 euros per person, most nights at 6 o'clock. And that includes sampling cicchetti with wines from about 4 bars. If you think of this tour as a light dinner with a local friend, it's a particularly good value. So this is sort of an example of getting information. He's no big shot. He doesn't have an advertising budget or anything like that. This is his livelihood. Every night, 6 or 8 people join him. They each give him $50, and he takes them to a bunch of bars, teaches them the culture, and shares in this beautiful food experience.
Alessandro's joining us to give our nibbles some meaning.
So what is cicchetti?
It's a small bite, you know, that you normally have when you have a glass of wine with a friend.
And it can make a small meal.
If you keep going for 3-4 bars, yes.
Because you can't drive a car in Venice, it's perfectly suited to bar hopping like this.
This is chiquito. A little thing that you grab with the hand has to be finger food,
with
okay?
your fingers, with your wine.
Little finger with your wine,
Wine
yeah?
chiquito.
You help yourself. One for you, one for me, a little for you, a little for me, and they try. You see, look, yeah.
That's a good one.
That's good.
Alessandro says it's all right to just point at what you want, but your selection will be limited to what's fresh from the market that day.
When you come here to the bar, you have to order what they find in the market in the morning. It has to be fresh.
So this is representative of what Francisco found in the market this morning.
Yes, to find it in the market in the morning.
Eating cicchetti is a tasty opportunity to try something new and unusual.
This one, they are cooked in the oven. You grab the sardine from the tail.
By the tail.
By the tail. And you eat it just in one. They are fantastic. Dopo di me. No.
That. He just said dopo di me. I think that means, if I understand correctly, after me. And I think the polite thing is say after you, like après vous. But Alessandro is so fun to have a local friend, so after me, and he dives right in there. We make friends, we broaden our perspective, and we make memories when we connect with locals in these little entrepreneurial ventures like food tours.
They're fantastic. You see?
Oh, that's an explosion of taste.
Yeah.
But don't forget, according to Alessandro, you only eat cicchetti so you can have more of the main course. Wine.
Ah, okay. So I'm just I'm dying to dive into my meze plate here, but I wanted to show it to you before I muck it all up. So here is my Greek dinner for the evening. And remember, when you're in a meze restaurant in Athens or in a little tiny island or wherever, you go to a meze restaurant, and then they bring you two times this much, and you point to whatever looks good. I'm a little dangerous at this. I don't want to be tipping it over, but I just want to give you a quick tour. This is really, really tasty. This is cod roe mousse. It's called teramo salata with olive oil and lemon because the fish eggs are red. It has a little pink sort of tint to it. I just love it. Kopanisti is roasted red peppers with feta. And this is another one of these fun things to dip your pita bread into. There's a lot of good cheese in Greece. And this is the Greek equivalent of the Swiss Gruyere, and it's called Graviera cheese. It's the second most popular cheese in Greece after feta. And then, of course, you got your grape leaves, your stuffed grape leaves. And this is called dolmas. But this in particular, oh, baby, this is called calamari tabbouleh dolmas because it has calamari, fried squid, and it also has bulgur and green onions and mint and dill. So this is a treat you'll get anywhere in Greece. Of course, you got your olives, and then you've got your pickled octopus with lemon, and I'm just going to dive into that. And you've got, anytime you're in Greece, you're going to get tzatziki. And tzatziki is your basic dip with yogurt, garlic, and cucumbers. You've noticed I've got my baklava here, and I've cut it up already with my toothpick so I can nibble into that and still not gum up all the works here. So you've got your meal, and I'm going to be eating that over the course of the night, and I hope you're going to be enjoying your food over the course of the night. And we want to be appropriate, culturally appropriate with our drinks. So we have ouzo yamas. Oh yeah. It's Mediterranean. It's not necessarily Greek. I mean, the Greeks say, oh, it's ouzo, but Turks, it's raki. And in France, it's pastis, but it is good. It's anise, it's licorice. Okay, our second tour is going to be in Porto. And this is a fun clip with a guy named Andre. And it is a good example of a bit that didn't make it into the TV show. I really like it, but it just we didn't have time in a 30-minute TV show. So I'm really happy we can share it here. So let's go to Porto, the #2 city in Portugal, and meet Andre.
In Portugal, the city of Porto's traditional market manages to survive in spite of competition from modern shopping malls. This is a great place to wander, especially in the morning, to take in the sights, sounds, and smells of real-world Porto. And for the best understanding of the local food scene, we're taking a food tour.
Okay, I just wanted to, excuse me for butting in, but I'm loving this tour already, and I want to remind you, you need to take the initiative to book these things. And in a good guidebook, and there's lots of good guidebooks, not just mine, but you need a guidebook. I'm promoting guidebooks here, not just the Rick Steves guidebook to Portugal. We got Taste Porto Food Tours, run with gusto by tour guide Andre, who has a contagious enthusiasm for good food and embracing his Portuguese style. Andre and his team take groups from 2 to 10 people on a 2-mile walk with 6 tasty stops. It's fun, educational, relaxed, and delicious. 2 3.5-hour tours run every day, Monday through Saturday, and they cost 65 euros. So that's about $80. It's a tour, it's an education, and it's a meal. So let's join Andre now and learn about Portuguese food in an industrial powerhouse, the second city of Portugal, Porto.
Welcome to Taste Porto Food Tours Vintage Food Tour. My name is Andre. I'm going to be your tour guide today.
By the way, we just rustled up these people. We hired Andre for a private slot, and then I had to find 6 or 7 people to make sure it looked like a tour. So I found these tourists at the hotel, and they were good public television fans, and they were happy to join us. Just don't look at the camera.
Show you the best of Porto's gastronomy, sprinkling it with a bit of history, architecture, and culture.
Food tours are popular throughout Europe for travelers who want to learn about the culture through its cuisine. With Andre as our guide, we'll enjoy a series of tasty stops. First up, the seafood section and Portugal's most famous fish, the sardine.
Okay, so the main difference in between a tiny and a fully grown one. As you can see, tiny one you can eat from head to tail after you fry it, which I love. Skin to bone, don't waste anything there, okay? And this is the mama.
Skin to bone, don't waste anything. These guys love their work. He does this tour every day and he still loves it. I love the way Europeans find their niche and then they do it with gusto and they do it with joy.
Is crucial. If you want a good sardine, it has to be like this because that's the fat content will keep all of the flavors in when you grill them. But look at those eyes, shiny and bright. They're gonna be delicious.
Next, we head to a shop with every type of seafood imaginable, but served only in tin cans, all artfully displayed.
This shop over here is owned by the Portuguese Association of the Can Industry. So here you'll find over 19 brands with over 300 different products, from sardines to codfish, sea bass, sea bream, tuna fish, eels, lamprey, octopus, squid, mussels. It's fish, it's in a can, they got it. And today, you're gonna sample here two of my favorite ones. First of all, this one over here. This, in Portuguese, we call it pica. It's actually a tiny needlefish. So it's less fatty than a sardine. It has been canned with olive oil and chili peppers. And to go along with it, mackerel in tomato sauce. And to hydrate yourselves also, a glass of vinho verde.
So to hydrate, so you're going to hydrate with the local drink in Greece. The vino verde is just right for that kind of seafood. You go to these little romantic places and you see couples out on a date and you've got canned food on the table, like sardine cans rolled open. And that's part of the whole scene, canned food, Portuguese style, in restaurants.
At last, wine. So once again, as I taught you a while ago, a nossa.
Who knew? Vino Verde is the perfect match for picas with chili peppers and mackerel.
I like that. But I like this.
Next, we walk a few blocks to one of the oldest shops in the market area.
Welcome to Mercearia do Bolhão. This shop opened in 1896, back then working as a grocery store, cafe, and bakery. The wealthiest families of Porto came over here for a cup of coffee or a cup of tea before heading to the market. But if you look around you, you'll see wine, spices, coffee beans, cheese, ham, codfish, fruit, vegetables, and even bread that is delivered here daily. And for you today, this is foulard. Foulard is a wheat and olive oil bread with bacon and sausage baked in. It's fluffy, savory, and sweet, a fantastic combination, and a light bread that actually was delivered here this morning.
So light, I think I'll have one more piece.
Actually, this is one of my favorite neighborhoods.
Nearby, in the medieval part of town, we try some Porto pub grub.
So, welcome to Tasca. This is a farm-to-table tavern in which you'll find here products just like smoked ham. These smoked ham legs, aged for 24 months, made out of a special breed of pork called bizaru, which only exists in the north of the country. And you can have it already pre-sliced over here for you as well. But you can find a lot more stuff in taverns like this. For instance, the octopus salad with a lot of olive oil, green and red bell peppers, delicious, fresh. And here, one of my favorites, stewed chicken gizzards in tomato sauce and chili pepper. So they're really...
Whoa, stewed chicken gizzards. Where would we have this opportunity as tourists to really sample this kind of stuff? When you take a food tour or when you have an adventurous spirit and you just go out on your own, you find these kind of things. Remember, on these food tours, again, they're all over Europe. They're all over the United States too. They're all over the world. It's a trendy new experiential kind of travel. They come twice a day to this little hole in the wall, and they organize this. They come at off hours, and Andre will call up and say, "I've got 8 people. We'll be there in about 10 minutes." And then they'll have the little plates and the drinks of rosé put out there, and it's all very efficient, very experiential, and I think very economic.
hot, as I say. And to go along with all of this, you're gonna drink sparkling rosé vinho verde. So light and bubbly to help it go down and to keep your palates wide awake. So bon appetit, enjoy.
An interesting variety of simple foods, well prepared and with refreshing local wine. And that's what food tours are all about.
Food tours, they're happening all over Europe. It's a great way to get to know the culture, have a lot of fun, get some exercise, and have a meal at the same time. Okay, hey, we're just getting used to a little bit of Portugal right now. And just beforehand, I just noticed I have my port sipper. This is kind of a silly thing, but a port aficionado. Port is the big drink in Portugal. He sold me this and I thought I'll never get it home in one piece. I did. And the idea is you take your port, which is a great souvenir when you're in Portugal, and they claim that when you sip it through this little contraption, it tastes better. So let's see what happens. And then you just, I mean, some people might think this is not for port, but this is actually for port. And you, oh baby, it's really, really, really good. I never thought I would have an opportunity to show this off, but I don't buy a lot of souvenirs, but I had the opportunity to get that. And it gathers dusts on my bookshelf. And I thought I would dust it off literally and share it with you today. Remember, these food tours, they cost from $50 to $100. They're a 4-hour experience. It's a meal and a tour all mixed into one, plus a little exercise, and you make some friends. They have different styles. Some of them are more formal and sit-down restaurants, and others go a lot of walking to a lot of little hole-in-the-wall places, and they try a lot of offbeat stuff. That's what I really like. I do want to remind you that we've got the Q&A widget there, and we're going to, after I'm done with this little show, I love to answer your questions, and Julianne's going to field your questions and dish them up to me later, so give her some questions, and she'll ask them to me for you. I want to remind you, we couldn't do Monday Night Travel without our wonderful team here. We got Ben, we got Gabe, and we got Julianne. And we're celebrating people's passions. We're celebrating lots of talented people in Europe. I also want to remind you, Julianne, who you know from Monday Night Travel, is an amazing musician. And she's got a brand new album out, and you can listen to it on Spotify, Goodbye, Forget Me. And it's just amazing. If you like music, check out, and if you want to get to know Julianne, check out her creative adventure for this last year. Okay, that was Porto. Porto is the second city of Portugal. Now we're going to go to the leading city of Portugal, and that is much more glitzy and powerful, Lisbon. We're going to meet a good friend of mine, Christina, and she's going to take us on another food tour. And this is a different sort of option. You can hire a private guide. It costs you, well, you know, between $50 and $100 to be part of a food tour. For $200 or $300, you can hire your own private guide, and then you've got all of this tailored to your interests. So now we're going to go to Lisbon, and we're going to be in the care of Christina, and we're going to see how that tastes. Here we go.
Plenty of character and color is packed into Lisbon, and much of it is edible. To be sure we get the most out of our visit, I'm joined by my friend and fellow tour guide, Christina Duarte.
This is my favorite spot in town, the grocery store where you find cod.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is amazing.
Did you see this fish? This is cod, bacalhau. It's in our national dish.
Look at the joy in her face when she holds up a piece of the salted, hard as a log cod. Boy, they say in cod we trust. And the interesting thing is cod is not local in Portugal. They have to take their ships all the way up to Norway to get it. And they've been doing that for centuries. But the Portuguese love their cod. It's a staple in Portugal, and you'll see it on the menus, that's for sure. So your favorite place in town, cod. You must like cod.
Yes, a lot. All the Portuguese do. So this is salted, as you see, and it's dry. Okay. And we can eat it like so many different ways. You can find it in any restaurant in town.
So in the old days, they could preserve it?
In salt and then dry it.
And then how do you prepare it?
Well, you have to soak it for 24 hours to 48 hours before in water and changing the water. And then you just cook it as a normal fish.
So if I go to a restaurant, what is the word I look for?
Bacalhau.
And I'll find it on menus?
For sure. This is one of the 365 ways of cooking for that I told you.
So what do we have in this?
In this, as you can see, it is codfish, potato, onion, and parsley. And then it's all deep fried. It's wonderful. Bolinho de bacalhau.
Yep.
This is just the perfect snack, either in the morning or in the afternoon.
It's like fast food in
Fast
Portugal.
food in
Yeah.
Portugal.
Christina's favorite eating experiences take us all over town, so we're traveling by trolley. Many of these have been clattering through town since the 1920s, somehow safely weaving within inches of parked cars as they climb Lisbon's many hills. Lisbon's traditional market hall is our next stop, and a joy to explore. Locals still shop here for the freshest ingredients. But as is the case all over Europe, modern buying habits are forcing these old-time markets to evolve. In order for the farmers' stalls to survive, markets are adding high-energy food courts. Today, much of this market features branches of restaurants run by local celebrity chefs. It's a youthful and trendy scene where you can enjoy a world of enticing dishes at great prices. And for us, it's the ideal lunch spot, mixing quality food, expedience, and fun shared tables.
Underline this tip. Anywhere in Europe, everywhere, Copenhagen, Lisbon, Athens, Bucharest, you can find what used to be the old, venerable, thriving markets that just can't make it these days. And now they are revitalized because they're a mix. They still got the fruit stalls and the fish stalls and so on, but they have little restaurants that are just a delight. Very popular with locals, very efficient for travelers. The food markets, the venerable, famous food markets are now food courts as well.
The market stands at the base of another steep Lisbon hill. It's too steep for a trolley, so we're hopping a funicular. The Elevator da Bica funicular climbs through a rough and tumble neighborhood where more tasty bites of Lisbon await. Small, creative wine bars inject an inviting modernity into the old quarter. Along with a warm welcome, you're sure to gain an appreciation of the local taste treats. No visit to Lisbon is complete without sipping the favorite national drink, port wine.
Well, cod is the national food, but port is the national drink.
I like that.
And our server has complemented this nice tawny port with the right meats and cheeses.
This is a very cool tip. All over Europe, go to a wine bar, or in this case, a port bar, that serves a very light menu. And it's just cold cuts like this, but it's designed to match the drink. It's a good marriage, they say, and it's just a delightful way to experience some fine points of the cuisine and top-end local drink.
Throughout Europe, places like this know how to combine traditional food and wine with a contemporary setting. We're just a short trolley connection from the dessert course of our food crawl. To save money, we're using the local transit pass. You zap in and zap out. By the way, throughout Europe, pickpockets are hard at work on the buses and trolleys most popular and crowded with tourists. So enjoy the ride, but keep an eye on your belongings. Next stop, custard pies. This bakery is popular for their pastéis de Belém. You'll find these treats all over Portugal, and they originated right here. Behind the busy cafe scene, a sweet sweatshop cranks out thousands of these tasty delights every day. They tried mechanizing the process, but it just wasn't the same. Each one is still carefully handmade. Why are these so special? It's a secret, proudly kept since 1837. Stopping here is a ritual for me with every visit to Lisbon.
Yes, this is the most famous place for this pastéis de Belém. In fact, it's called a pastéis de nata everywhere in Portugal, but right here in the little town of Belém, which is where the palace is and the great monastery outside of town, it's called the pastéis de Belém, this town. And it's great, but it's great not just because they know how to do it well, but because they're cranking them out and it's literally hot out of the oven. And if you can find a bakery that serves these little pastries hot out of the oven, it's going to be just as good. I found in Lisbon, there are certain places, there's a handful of places, they're in my guidebook, and they're serving them hot right out of the oven, and they are worth lining up for. I just absolutely love them. By the way, Christina, my friend right here, she works very hard, and she's a good example of our local guides. We've got 100 guides in Europe now. Christina does tours for us with Rick Steves Tours, and they got no work. This pandemic is just such a drag for so many people in tourism. And what we have on our website now in the tour section is not opportunity to sell our tours, because we're not operating our tours right now, but an opportunity to connect our travelers with our guides who are in Europe, like Christina, without any work to do right now. And Christina is one of about 50 guides listed there who are doing tours and blogs and virtual tours and cooking lessons and language lessons and all sorts of very, very creative stuff. And most of it is free. If you want to connect with our guides, go to ricksteves.com and go into the tour section, and you'll find that it has now it's become a hub to connect our travelers with our guides during this interim when we can't travel and our guides can't guide. Of course, in the near future, we'll all be guiding and touring again. But in the meantime, you can take advantage of this wonderful connection. So now we're going to go to Madrid for our food tour number 4, the Madrid Tapa Tango. And we've been to Venice and we've seen the tapa, the chiquete. Well, in Spain, of course, it is tapas. And I want to remind you, in Madrid, it's the capital city. So it brings together all parts of that diverse country of Spain. And if you were to go to a simple little sandwich shop in Madrid, you might find 4 languages on the menu, and they're all Spanish languages: Galician, Catalonian, Basque, Castile, all these different regions that have literally their own language and their own cuisine. So when you go to the bars, you'll experience different cuisines. Each neighborhood will have a place that is dense with little hole-in-the-wall restaurants, and you walk from one to the other like we're going to do coming up right now. And that can be a do-it-yourself food tour very easily if you know what to order. That's the trick. Pay attention here, because these are the basic things to order, and you can do it yourself anywhere in Spain.
For dinner in Madrid, it's a movable feast. For maximum fun, people, and atmosphere, do the Tapa Tango. It's a time-honored tradition of going from one bar to the next, munching, drinking, and socializing. When it comes to variety, Madrid is Spain's tapas capital. Grab a toothpick and stab something strange. While Spaniards don't eat dinner until 9 or 10 o'clock, with a meal like this, I can eat early and still go local. For starters, we're going for one of Madrid's quirkiest snacks, and this spot is named for it, La Oreja de Oro, sautéed pig's ears. Pig's ears are a favorite here, and Jaime is a frantic one-man show who somehow gets everything just right.
Orejas!
Ahí, Ribeiro. See, this wine is like house-made wine from the northwest of Spain, from Galicia.
Okay. And it's cloudy a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit cloudy, so that we don't see the poor quality.
All right.
Gracias, Jaime.
Gracias.
So this is?
Yeah, so this is pig's ear. This is the cartilage, actually. This is sautéed with a little bit of olive oil, Spanish paprika, and parsley.
And that's actually the cartilage.
That's right.
Crunchy.
Yeah.
Wow. Pig's ears. I never thought I'd be eating actual pig's ears. There I am, about to stick a pig ear in my mouth. Oh, baby, you got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to be brave. You got to explore. And a great way to do that is in these little bars of Spain. I want to remind you, timing is critical. If you're looking for a restaurant, no restaurant's going to be serving before 9 o'clock. If you find a restaurant that's serving at 7 o'clock, it's a lousy restaurant. You want to eat during the local times. But I do want to remind you, tapas, what we're doing right now, it's open all afternoon and evening. So that's the way to overcome the challenging Spanish eating times. Eat tapas, and it's a meal. You go with your friend, you make friends when you're there, you eat all sorts of ugly things on toothpicks. It can be teeming later in the evening. And then it's tough for a tourist to bully their way right up to the bar, especially if they don't speak the language. But if you go earlier, before it gets too crowded, then you can have a little more time with the waiter and so on, the barista and so on. Know your menu phrases, get in there, make it happen. All of this is doable. That's what I want to stress. It's not expensive. It's not complicated. It's totally accessible, but you gotta equip yourself with information and expect yourself to travel smart.
Just up the street, Casa Tony is run by Tony. He's popular for his refreshing gazpacho, the cold tomato and garlic soup.
Carlos, the gazpacho is really refreshing in the summer, right?
Yeah, gazpacho is like a vegetable soup with a tomato base.
But cold.
And it's very refreshing, yeah, it's cold.
It's nice, yeah.
At Tony's, you can have huevos con chorizo, potatoes brava, mystery meats, and the house vermouth.
Okay, so you're thinking about a glass of wine or a beer, but vermouth is a big deal in this bar. What are you going to do? You're going to drink vermouth. Just point to that and say, I'll have a glass of it. It's cheaper. It's an experience. You might really like it. By the way, remember, there's different qualities. And in a bar like this, the cheap wine would be $1. The fancy wine would be $3. I'd say splurge for the top end when you get a chance.
Don't worry about paying until you're ready to go. Then ask for la cuenta, the bill. Next, it's La Casa del Abuelo, packed with seafood lovers savoring sizzling plates of tasty shrimp and prawns. I like gambas al ajillo, shrimp sautéed with garlic, and gambas a la plancha, grilled shrimp. A glass of the house red wine, right out of the keg, is incredibly cheap. The litter on the floor is normal. That's where people traditionally toss their trash and shells. For a sweet late-night finale, enjoy pudding-like hot chocolate and churros. Churros are the favorite local donut. Dunk and chat, recalling highlights of the day and looking forward to tomorrow.
So think of what we've just experienced there. We've had like a 5-course meal moving to 5 different bars, and it doesn't amount to as much as a fancy restaurant dinner. That's for sure. You could do it. We had pig's ears, we had gazpacho, we had patatas bravas, we had vermouth, we had shrimp sauteed in garlic, we had hot chocolate con churros. What a beautiful dinner. Unforgettable. This is not a formal food tour. This is a traveler, a tourist, getting out there, using their guidebook or hiring a local guide. Use the guidebook. That's what guidebooks are for. That's one of my big joys in researching these guidebooks. Every time I go to Madrid, I can hardly wait to revisit all my favorite little hole-in-the-wall pubs so I can line up these eating experiences for my travelers. These are small, characteristic places. Every neighborhood has them in a certain area. And one thing they have in common is a passion for jamón. Jamón, ham. We're going to go right now on a special little sequence just on Spain's love of ham.
Madrid is the hub of Spain. This vibrant capital, Europe's highest at 2,000 feet, has a population of over 4 million. Most of the city is modern urban sprawl, surrounding an intact, easy-to-navigate historic center. We'll limit our visit to this old core.
Madrid is livable and fun to visit. Former parking lots are once again grand and people-friendly squares. Short posts keep cars off the sidewalks. And the fine old buildings show off their original elegance. The historic center is enjoyably covered on foot. No major site is more than a 20-minute walk or a 5-minute cab ride from Madrid's lively main square, the Puerta del Sol. It's a hub for the metro, buses, city celebrations, and a busy pedestrian shopping zone. And in the old center, it seems there's a surprise around every corner. My Spanish friend and fellow tour guide, Carlos Galvin, is joining us to share a local's insight into Madrid's culture and food. Carlos is taking me to a place famous for food Spaniards are crazy about. If Spain had a national food, it would probably be jamón, that's ham. The eatery, called the Museum of Ham, is tastefully decorated. Unless you're a vegetarian or a pig. This cheap and cherry stand-up bar is an assembly line of meaty treats.
Chin chin.
Chin chin, jamón.
Jamón serrano.
So in Spain, you don't just say ham?
No, we have different kinds. Look at all those different kinds there. Like, for example, jamón granadino or bellota extra or Salamanca. You know, the different origins. Yeah.
So what do we have here?
So here we have a regular jamón serrano and we have Iberico. This one, the pig has been killed after 3 months and has been eating just basic pig food. And this one has been eating acorn.
Acorn?
Acorn, yeah.
Okay.
They're in freedom in the fields and they're eating the acorn.
And this is much more expensive.
Yeah. If this costs $3, this would cost like $12.
So $3 for one plate, $12 for the other. That's a lot of money. But you got to try it once because you can't know if it's really worth the extra. I mean, are you a $2 chuck kind of person? Or do you want to try some jamón ibérico? Watch Carlos's face when he puts some of this in his mouth. And then you tell me if that's not worth two people splitting a $12 plate.
You taste the difference?
I can, yeah, oh yeah. Give it a try. It's delicious.
Acorns.
Yeah.
Happy pigs running free in the mountains.
That's right.
Plaza Mayor is a stately, traffic-free chunk of 17th century Spain. Whether hanging out with old friends, enjoying a cup of coffee, or finding a treasure at the Sunday coin market, it's an inviting place for people to gather. The square is filled with emblems of Spain's powerful past. Bronze reliefs under the lampposts show how upon this stage, much of Spanish history was played out. The square hosted bullfights. It was the scene of generations of carnival gaiety. And during the Inquisition, many suspected heretics were tried here and punished. In this case, publicly strangled.
Thankfully, the brutality of the Inquisition is long gone. But one brutal spectacle that survives today, anchored deep in the psyche of Spain, is the bullfight. Whether you actually go to a bullfight or not is entirely up to you. But anyone, for a quick sense of the action, can pop into one of Madrid's many bull bars.
Aficionados gather at a bar like this after fights, or to watch one on TV. This bar is a temple to bullfighting.
If you like bullfighting, how do you justify it with the animal? How do you excuse it?
It's an art. Bullfighting is an art. It's not about the cruelty. It's just an art. It's a whole aesthetic. You're fighting against an animal that is 500 or 600 kilos, and there's this guy right in front of him with a cape and with a sword, and he's brave enough, and he's wearing this suit, and people are so supportive of him. They want to see him like doing well.
So some bullfighters are actually very popular, like heroes or popular heroes?
Oh, absolutely. Rick, look at these photographs. I think they prove that the matador does not always win. Hemingway was at that bullfighting. Hemingway was there.
Hemingway saw Lisbon, Cordobés
in the hands of Cordobés, with Franco in the audience.
Franco and Hemingway saw the Babe Ruth of bullfighting. Cordobés killed Lisbon.
So that's an interesting issue, is the morality of bullfighting. Of course, it's a brutal thing, and I wouldn't personally support it. But as a travel writer, I've kind of struggled with this. Is it my job to censor things that we consider immoral? Or is it my job to explain that Spaniards are really into this? You know, if it was only kept alive by tourists, I would not promote it. But it's clearly not only kept alive by tourists. Tourists, I don't think, barely go to bullfights. Local people are still really into it. I mean, as Carlos just said, bullfight news is reported in the culture pages, not in the sports pages. And if you go to a bar like this, it's got three themes. It's either a football bar, meaning soccer. It's a Semana Santa bar, meaning all the processions they do at Holy Week on Easter, or it's a bull bar. And you're going to get a lot of that bull culture when you're in travel. Hey, we're going to go now to Scotland. But before we do, I just want to celebrate something. Omega Ouzo is a ouzo restaurant. Omega Ouzori is our local Greek restaurant here in Seattle. All over the United States, wherever you're looking in from, you got a Greek restaurant in town, and they've got this kind of great food. I mean, this here is the cod roe. The cod roe is codfish eggs. It's like, when we grew up, it was fish eggs. You wouldn't eat that. It's for the fish. But this is cod roe mousse with olive oil and lemon. It is so tasty. And I've never heard of it before. I didn't have it in Greece. I had it here. And I would just remind you, there's a lifetime of taste treats. And I'm really enjoying my Greek dinner this evening. Now, we're going to, how can I have a good, elegant transition? We're going to Scotland. It has nothing to do with the Greek meze, nothing to do with ouzo. because we're going to try whiskey. And when you go to Scotland, the big deal is whiskey tours. And south of Edinburgh is the Spey River. And the Spey River Valley is lined with the most famous whiskey distilleries in Scotland. Get out a map, circle the ones you're interested in, you can visit them. But one thing you should not miss in the Spey River is the cooperage. If you have got a friend named Cooper, that means his great-great-great-great-great-great-grandpa was a cooper. He was a barrel maker. And we're going to see the barrel makers here in the Spey River in Scotland.
A 4-hour drive takes us to the River Spey. Speyside marks the heart of Scotland's whiskey country. It's practically a pilgrimage for aficionados of Scotch whiskey. Of the 100 or so whiskey distilleries in Scotland, about half lie near the valley of the River Spey. Its prized waters, along with a favorable climate and soil for barley, have attracted distillers here for centuries. Along with natural resources, a critical element in the Scotch making process is quality barrels. The Speyside Cooperage welcomes visitors with guided tours. From an observation deck, you'll watch master coopers making casks for distilleries throughout Scotland. Perhaps the single biggest factor in defining whiskey's unique flavor is the barrel it's aged in. The process is essentially the same today as it was centuries ago. In order to be watertight, the oak staves are lassoed tightly by metal hoops. Tight-fitting lids are banged into place and sealed with a caulking of freshwater reeds. Finally, the inside is artfully charred, creating a carbonized coating that helps give whiskey its golden hue and flavor. The United States actually contributes to the character of Scotch whiskey because most of the barrels used in Scotland are made from the staves of hand-me-down bourbon casks from Kentucky. It's impressive to watch the coopers, who are paid by the piece, work with such intensity and focus.
I'm just telling you, those guys were working hard. We were down there on the floor with them. And if you're in the way, look out. I mean, you get rolled over by a barrel. They're paid by the piece, not by the hour. And they were intense. I don't even know the morality of that, but it was amazing to watch them work. And I was reminded that life must have been quite a bit different when we didn't have plastics and convenient ways to contain things. Back then, you had to make a barrel.
The distilleries that put Speyside on the map for whiskey lovers are bigger and more corporate than others in Scotland. And they include some famous names, including one of the world's best-selling brands, Glenfiddich. The sprawling Glenfiddich distillery offers tours that show the basic steps in making Scotland's beloved spirit. They've been turning barley into whiskey here since 1886. After the grain has been germinated or malted, it's put in these tanks called mash tuns. Water, distinctive to each region, is added to this mash to extract the sugars. The resulting liquid, or wort, is transferred to tanks called washbacks. Yeast is added to ferment the sugars into alcohol. The liquid at this stage is called the wash. The wash is then heated in copper stills where it's concentrated or distilled into spirits. The shape of the stills and the combination of various strengths of the spirits are unique to each distillery. It's like moonshine gone corporate. The spirit is then put into wooden casks where it matures for a minimum of 3 years before it can be called whiskey in Scotland.
Okay. I wanted to give you just a little dose of Iceland. So we just finished Scotland. You can take your whiskey tours. And we're halfway back to the United States now, making a quick stop in Iceland. And when you go to Iceland, you'll find that the traditional culture is not only alive, but people are really quite proud of it. And here I hired a guide and we went out traveling and sightseeing. And then in the evening, we sat down in a restaurant and he shared some interesting insights into the local culture. And I wanted you to get a look at that. This is not a TV show footage, so it's not good. I'm just holding up the iPhone, filming it myself as I talk here. But it's just an example of what I want to do when we go back to Iceland. We were all booked and ready to go. We had the permissions, we had the crew, we had the script, but we had to cancel because of COVID. We're heading back to Iceland once we can. But right now, let's go to Iceland just for a couple of minutes and top off our food tours of Europe with a little look at Iceland. Hi, I'm Rick Steves. I'm in Reykjavik in Iceland with my local guide, Valur. Hey, Valur. Valur runs a tour company. Your company is called?
Your Friend in Reykjavik.
And he does food tours, and it's a great way to learn about the culture and enjoy some good food. And I'm getting a special look at the three sort of touristic curiosities in a lot of ways, or just bits of Icelandic cuisine history. And one is the lobster soup, or langustín, actually. Valur, what is langustín?
Well, that's basically the Icelandic lobster. And I preferably like langoustine much better than the big lobster, because it's got more flavor and it melts in your mouth. It's not as chewy as.
So it's a small lobster, langustín.
Yeah.
And then we have minke whale. And I'm holding my camera with right hand, so I'm eating awkwardly with my left hand. But this minke whale is a kind of whale. And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we've been researching the whale stocks around Iceland for decades, and there are about 40,000 the minke whales around Iceland. We are only hunting about 213 per year, and this has been like a vital source of our food for centuries.
So minke whale, it's a little bit controversial, but you only get a couple hundred a year that you catch, and you monitor the crops, and it's part of your culture historically. You guys feel like there's nothing wrong about that.
No.
It's part of your culture, and it's quite tasty. It's like barbecue. How do you describe the taste?
Some say it's about cross between lean beef and tuna.
Beef and tuna. I like that. Now, the third dish here is, it looks like almost a patriotic statement, but this is the notorious rotten shark. It's fermented shark, and I'm going to eat it with the flag, the Icelandic flag, and tell us what am I eating actually here?
Well, you're basically eating a Greenland shark that's been fermented for preferably 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes longer. And so it's like old cheese with a little bit of ammonia.
It tastes like old cheese with ammonia.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's got some story, and I bet you'd washed it down with the local fire water.
The brennivin is they are called Black Death sometimes.
Helps it go down better.
It helps it.
But this is the fermented shark here, and it's a long story, but basically sharks have no bladder, so the urine soaks through their body, and if you were a fisherman and you cut and you ate the shark meat, it would be poison. But if they accidentally figured this out, if you ferment it, somebody buried it, because it was a bad omen, and he got really hungry and he dug it up and he ate it, and the urine was no longer toxic, and he invented a new, not a taste treat, but a new way to survive.
Well, this is, everything. A lot of our diet revolves around basically surviving the long winter.
So in Iceland, cuisine is called survival. And if it's minke whale, langustín, or even a little bit of fermented shark meat, you got to do it, because there's so many good things to live for in this beautiful island. Happy travels. We're working with Valur, and we're making the Iceland book really good for next time around. Okay, I hope you enjoyed our quick little look at Iceland to cap our food tour extravaganza. I've had so much fun just traveling around. It's been sort of, I guess my tongue is a little confused because it's a little oxymoronic because I'm so into the Greek stuff here, but I'm finishing off my little bottle of ouzo. And I found a clever use for my Portuguese port taster. I'm going to use this to dribble in the water, because the challenge for people, this is just a fun thing to do in a bar. When you have your ouzo, you drop in some water, and if you do it very gently, it creates two tones. And with the help of my Portuguese port sniffer, there I got it. Oh, I'm so proud of myself. My Greek friends would buy me another glass of ouzo. Can you see how that's two-toned? If you poured water into vodka, it just stays pure. But when you pour it into ouzo, it has two different levels. And if you do it sloppy, it messes it up. Oh, that's actually pretty good already. So there you go, ouzo. Ouzo and octopus and beautiful olives. And I'm saving the dessert logically for last. Baklava. I would like to cap things off right now with just a little fun and games. And this is our Where's Rick teaser fest. On each of our shows, we've done it 140 times. We start with me doing the tease. We think of a fun spot and we go, hey, I'm Rick Steves, back with more of the best of Europe. This time we're doing that, and that, because we're in, and then we reveal it, whatever. I've got 5 teases here, and your job is to guess where we are. And let's call it a drinking game. If you get it right, you take a drink. If you get it wrong, you take a drink. Let's have 5 teases now, and we'll see what we're going to say, how we do. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Rick Steves, back with more of the best of Europe. This time, we're soaking in the cultural wonders of
Where can you find such good-looking men?
Hungary, in Budapest.
Look at that. They actually aggressively came in and took my piece. They are so mean-spirited with their chest. They're very serious about that.
Hi, I'm Rick Steves, back with more of the best of Europe. This time we're tasting, pedaling, and cruising our way through Scandinavia's most fun-loving capital.
Well, there's 4 of them: Reykjavik, Oslo, Stockholm, or Copenhagen. Which is the most fun?
Copenhagen.
I agree.
Hi, I'm Rick Steves. For many travelers, the quintessence of Spain is found here.
The quintessence overlooking a Moorish palace? Must be.
Andalusia. The sounds, sights, and experiences of southern Spain are shaped by waves of history. Join us as we enjoy the food, music, dance, and art of perhaps Europe's most passionate corner, Andalusia. Merhaba, I'm Rick Steves, back with more travels. This time, we're living the good life. Backgammon, a nice glass of Rocky, and the sparkling Mediterranean. It's the best.
Rocky? Well, that's the same as ouzo, but just over the border.
Of Western Turkey. Thanks for joining us. Hi, I'm Rick Steves, back with more of the best of Europe. This time, I'm surrounded by Slavic culture. It's Bulgaria. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Well, I hope you did okay on our Where's Rick contest. Hey, let's go back to Julianne now, and we've got a chance for some of your questions.
All right, Rick, we have a lot of great questions tonight, but first, can we have a word from our sponsor?
Hey, Julianne, a word from our sponsor is what keeps you and me in business. It's a company called Rick Steves Europe, and there's 100 of us on our staff. We're a gang of passionate travelers. We've got an amazing team, you, me, and 98 other travelers. And of course, during this pandemic, if you're in tourism, it ain't a good time. We've had 30 profitable years, and right now we're kicking off our 2nd year with 0 revenue. But we are determined to keep our team together, and we're doing that. We're determined to keep enthusing about Europe. We've got good connections in Europe. Our guides are standing by, our buses are standing by, our hotels are actually booked. And when we are ready to throttle up, we're going to be the company to go to when you want to go to Europe on a tour, the Rick Steves Europe Tour program. Back in 2019, I think you remember, Julianne, we took 30,000 people on 1,500 different tours, 40 different itineraries. Of course, we had to cancel everything in 2020. We had 24,000 people signed up for tours, had to send all those deposits back. But we did without a moment's hesitation. We didn't mess around with credits or anything like that. It's just, here's your money back. This is a drag. We'll see you when we come out of this tunnel. And we think we're about to come out of this tunnel in the next few months. I don't know if the United States is going to get its act together and actually embrace the science and take their shots. I just got my 2nd shot Saturday, and I'm feeling so good because and when I got that shot, Julianne, it wasn't a selfish kind of joy. It was a societal joy. And I was thinking our whole society is getting together, understanding we owe it to each other to take our shots so we can get herd immunity, and then we can come back to life as usual. If we don't have the maturity and the character to wait and be diligent and get our shots and help our whole society get a grip on this thing, we're never going to get anywhere. So Europe has to do it. and America has to do it. And when that happens, we're together. And of course, the rest of the world needs to do it. And I'm understanding that we're going to be more tuned in to the fact that there should be no place for privilege when it comes to a vaccine against COVID. So we're hopeful. We're embracing the science. We're thankful for good governance. We are taking care of our neighbors. Right now, Julianne, you and 100 of us, we're contributing 400 hours a week of community service on our staff, on company time, because we're looking out for our community. And that's what we need to do here in the United States in order for us to stay together as we get through this unprecedented crisis. And when we do, we're going to be ready to go. We must have 15,000 people's names on their wait list for tours coming up. We're hoping to do tours in the fall of 2021, but if we can't, we'll certainly be doing tours a year from now in the spring of 2022. But we hope that you'll keep us in mind when it comes time to turn your travel dreams into smooth and affordable reality, because we got the best tours anywhere. We got the best guides standing by in Europe, and we're going to be there when we come out of this pandemic. Thank you for that opportunity to remind people what keeps us in business. And let's have some questions.
All right. So we went from, Greece all the way to Iceland tonight. And have you found there to be kind of a foodie trend in Europe, or does appreciation of food just seem to be part of European culture?
Well, food is kind of tied in with affluence. Back when England and Ireland were poor, it was just pub grub. They didn't have enough money for fusion food or, fresh vegetables and that kind of thing. Now people are better educated. They've traveled. They know it's worth prioritizing for good food, and there's a relative affluence. So when you have an economic boom, you have great food opportunities. Also, you have this sort of wonderful phenomenon of in sort of Rust Belt cities, industrial cities that were quite depressed in the last generation, coming out and coming back with a vengeance, with an edgy creativity and a sort of an entrepreneurial spirit. And one thing I like, Porto is a good example of that. Glasgow in Scotland compared to Edinburgh is a good example of that. All over Europe, you can go to the big city, the famous city, or you can go to the industrial kind of edgy city, and you'll find there so many exciting food things going on. I'm not really trendy when it comes to fancy foodie kind of stuff. I'm just excited to go to a little creative mom and pop and enjoy a celebration of the local culture. And you can do that all over Europe these days. And I just think it's great news.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And out of all the different food cultures in Europe, can you choose a favorite, like Spanish food, Italian food, or is it too hard?
Well, this is my second plate like this tonight. And I would never say Greece is my favorite food unless I'm swimming in great Greek food. And then I'm just thinking, this is really, really good. You could do the same thing with almost every country in Europe. So I'm inclined to say Italy and France, but if you eat well, if you eat local and with the season, and if you find the right restaurant, you got great stuff. I ate really well in Iceland. I ate really well in Poland. I ate really well in Ireland. So I wouldn't say one place is my favorite, but I would say one dessert is my favorite. And it rhymes with baklava.
Okay, so the next question, where can people find good food tours? And we get this question quite often. And do you have to tip the guide?
You can tip the guide and they wouldn't give you your money back, but it's not designed that way. You pay good money for a food tour. Personally, I just believe in, tell me what it's worth. Pay your staff. Here's your money. Now give me a good time. And that's my attitude in Europe. So Europe is not that big into tipping like the United States. It's good to ask, what's appropriate. But for food tours, I think you're paying a fair price. And if you have a good time, it's been a good deal for them and a good deal for you. You can tip if you want to, but I don't think it's necessary. How do you find those? It's a good question. I look them up everywhere because in my research, I want to know what the good food tour companies are. And I take them because I'm kind of cheating. I'm just taking them and taking notes and putting that into my guidebook so people can buy my guidebook and secondhand enjoy their expertise and their passion. And these friends of mine know it. And they're fine with that. And some people can afford a private tour. Other people have a guidebook. It's less expensive if you want to read it yourself and put it together. So I take food tours to pick their brains and cobble it together in my book so you can do it on your own. And I list that food tour company or that guide who does food tours in my book so people can hire them directly. So I'm a good resource for that because I'm no foodie. I'm a newcomer to this. You know, it's just for years after I graduated from college, I would go back to the dorm for a good lunch. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
I never told you that before.
No.
So I don't tell a lot of people that. But in the last, I learned a lot from my TV crew, Carl and Simon and Peter, and I learned a lot from my tour members. They hired to take me around Europe and they teach me about great European food. That was a long time ago. Now, for 20 years, I've really focused on European food and I love it. I would say I'm not inclined to promote TripAdvisor because I think there's a problem with everybody going, you know, we don't have herd immunity, but we got herd mentality when it comes to crowdsourced information. Everybody's doing what everybody's doing because everybody's doing it, you know, and I just don't buy that. But so I'm not big on TripAdvisor for eating and sleeping recommendations, but I'm really big on TripAdvisor for knowing what's going on in a town with the way of little tours and stuff. And that's in the things to do section. There's 3 parts of TripAdvisor: restaurants, hotels, and things to do. Look at the things to do. And there'll be in every town in Europe, part of the things to do are people doing food tours. And those are going to be just individuals that try to make themselves sound like they're a big established company, but they're just struggling individuals, hardworking tour guides that would love to get $60 from you and show you around some neighborhood and take you to 5 places for a movable lunch. And it's a great deal. So they're hardworking, they're good value. And if I find them and I like them, I put them in a Rick Steves guidebook.
That's great.
Can I have another just a little bit of my baklava?
I'll go for it. The baklava. This next question is a little bit longer, so it's
yeah, okay.
perfect timing.
Thank you. I'm ready now.
Okay, this weekend I just listened to your NPR interview with Guy Raz, and in that interview, you said that when you first traveled to Europe as a kid, or your first trips to Europe, you ate mostly bread, jam, and soda. Have you kind of evolved over the years, or is it still a quick grab and go kind of meal?
Oh, back then, I went to REI on the way to the airport and bought a squeeze tube so I can put peanut butter in it, another one jam. And the next year I thought I would economize and I'd buy 1 squeeze tube and put peanut butter and jam in it. And something happened, it curdled, and it was disaster for me in Europe. I realized I've really screwed up. I had no sense of quality or nutrition. I came home from my first trip chronically malnourished.
Wow.
I mean, I was sick. I really was. I was a mess. And I took the first semester in college, I took a nutrition class. I just realized I got to get my act together in nutrition. Now I'm very tuned into good nutrition, as you can tell. And over time, I've learned that it's an important part of European culture. You can learn about culture through the museums, through the galleries, or from the hearth, how people have the cuisine, and they're all legit. And it's so important when we travel to recognize that culture shows itself in the cuisine. And you don't need to be a sophisticate. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to have all sorts of fancy clothes. You can get into the food. And I think you and I both know that our European guides, they really celebrate their cuisine. And it's a very accessible thing. And that's what tonight's kind of about, is I'm just celebrating how accessible great food is in our travels.
Yeah, it's so great. It looks like there's so much good food available for cheap prices off the street.
Oh yeah. And that's, for me, that's the fun, is you don't need to dress up and, you know, make an appointment and spend $100 for dinner. You can, it's not a bad thing, but you can arguably have a better time without dressing up, spending half the amount if you know where to go.
Yeah. Okay, and our last question tonight is just kind of a funny question that a couple of people have been asking. Quite a few people have noticed tonight that you often eat your Monday night travel meals with a toothpick. Did you pick up this habit on food tours in Europe with those samples, or how did that come about?
I'm not sure, but I love toothpicks. You know, these are like, they got these little carvings on the top, and it might have been from my travels in Japan, because, you know, Japan's into really fine little points like that. But my girlfriend will tell you, I've got a bowl of toothpicks here, and toothpicks should be on the table with your spoons and fork. And part of it is like with chopsticks, you eat things one at a time and you kind of become one with it, and then you put it in your mouth. And with a toothpick, you can do that sort of elegance that chopsticks give you. But I think there's a practical thing. I'm munching all day when I'm working, and I don't want my fingers to get sticky on the keyboard. So I have my toothpick, and that's how I can nibble and not get sticky, because this is way too much information, but
No, I love it.
sticky is one of my pet peeves. I do not like sticky. So what a weird question, Julianne, but we'll take any. Okay. We want to thank you all for joining us today. We hope that you enjoyed this little gastronomic extravaganza around Europe. It's been just a lot of fun. I want to remind you, every Monday night we travel together. This is how we're getting through COVID. COVID can derail our travel plans, but it cannot stop our travel dreams. And together, we're going to keep our sights on the freedom that we enjoy when you can reach out and embrace the world in all of its diversity and all of its wonder. And our beat is Europe. Of course, there's a lot more to Europe, but for us, Europe is the springboard for world exploration, and we do our very best to make sure that if you travel to Europe the Rick Steves way, you'll enjoy maximum travel thrills for every mile, minute, and dollar. We hope you can join us each Monday. It's free, it's fun, it's a few calories, but what the heck. Next week, we're going to talk about offbeat Europe. I can hardly wait to take you to my favorite offbeat corners of Europe, and I'm talking serious offbeat. The week after that, we're going to go to the best markets in Europe, and markets are a really great place to check out and feel the pulse of what's going on in each community. After that, I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation rather than a video on an irreverent history of Rick Steves Europe, going back to our Europe through the back door days, and before that, our Europe through the gutter days. So we hope you can enjoy us for that, or join us for that, enjoy us for that. And then the week after that, it's natural wonders in Europe. So we got a lot of great travels coming up on Monday Night Travel. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you have had a beautiful, beautiful Easter weekend, and we want to wish you happy travels.